Hello, my name is Dana Nowling, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm speaking to you on behalf of Plumas Rural Services. We are a nonprofit serving Plumas County and Sierra County in Northern California, and the land we stand on is Mountain Maidu. Like much of California, we face the threat of wildfires annually and are particularly challenged during drought years. Our counties cover a very large geographical area of forest land with a sparse population. Many of you watching this video will be aware of the Dixie Fire that we've been battling this summer and the loss of some of our very treasured communities, including Greenville, California. When a wildfire threatens or spreads into our communities, people are often evacuated. And this year, many have no home to return to once the fire is contained. There has been disruption to travel as roads are closed, often at short notice, which can leave people stranded for hours or days. The continuous emergency alerts are very stressful and can arouse post-traumatic stress for those whose homes are under threat and even for those who are safe for the moment. So how have the wildfires impacted our organization? How have they impacted our staff, the survivors being served, and how have we continued to meet the needs of the community? Many members of our team have been evacuated and displaced during this most difficult time, some to nearby communities and some considerably further away. It has been very stressful not knowing if they or we will have a home to go back to. During this time, those of us who were not on notice or evacuated handled the incoming cases. Those who could be served remotely were served in an ongoing capacity. I'm so grateful for the strong team we have. Many of our participants were also evacuated, some losing their homes and being forced to relocate with friends and or family inside and outside of the area. The Plumas County Superior Court was also shut down for a period of time, and domestic violence restraining order hearings were postponed. Serving the temporary restraining orders to the perpetrators has been quite challenging, as many of them were also displaced due to the fires, and our law enforcement partners are spread thin with evacuations and road closures and dealing with other criminal activities. At one time, our safe house was on notice, so the challenge of housing was nearly impossible. We had to be creative with our options for temporary safe housing, and participants were offered temporary housing in neighboring communities via hotel or motel, or through different domestic violence shelters in Northern California. The outreach clients who were not evacuated were consistently served through online resources and Zoom. Much of the counseling was shifted and focused on dealing with the crisis at hand and the trauma that goes along with such natural disasters. For example, self-regulation and immediate crisis management were more of the focus. So what impact does this wildfire-related trauma have? The fire-related trauma caused by this ongoing disaster, along with the ongoing pandemic, has been extreme. As we know, traumatic circumstances can trigger other past traumatic events and can create extreme anxiety and PTSD. We have seen this to be true. It's a very difficult situation for survivors, their children, and their pets to leave their current situations under normal circumstances and come into a safe house only to be faced with the possibility of relocating once again to an out-of-area hotel due to the potential of wildfire. The enormous lack of lodging, both temporary and permanent, has played a very harsh role in assisting survivors in obtaining housing, with the loss of homes due to wildfire now placing a severe demand on what was already a terribly limited resource. This issue will be compounded for years. I have witnessed survivors staying in their current domestic violence situations due to these wildfires. The fires become the primary concern and the violence secondary. So what could the state and local policies and practices do to better recognize the needs of DV survivors and programs serving them when planning for and responding for disasters? It's important to remember that when an area is going through a wildfire, both DV survivors and the people who serve them through programs are dealing with similar challenges for basic safety. As previously described, several staff members were evacuated, leaving a skeleton crew to handle all incoming cases and help those who were already being served. Additionally, neighboring counties who we typically work closely with are often under the same situation. They're either helping with evacuees or are being evacuated themselves. At those times, it would be helpful to have a system in place to bring together other programs that can help. There is a critical need for long-term recovery supports and funding. It will take years for our communities to recover from this type of disaster. And there needs to be ongoing support from the government to aid in that recovery, both in terms of physical infrastructure and trauma support and recovery. Due to the nature of work we do in the field of domestic violence and training, the skills and experience our staff have in crisis intervention and immediate and long-term trauma support, the role our agency plays in wildfire situations is naturally sharing and connecting people to resources, but also providing much needed therapy, trauma recovery and education, and mindful living support. We see every day how critical these mental health supports are for our communities, and it would be of great benefit to have funding to support the long-term delivery of services to address post-traumatic stress. Finally, I would just like to share that I am extremely grateful for the dedication and tenacity that I see in our team every day. I want to recognize how difficult it is to assist others in meaningful ways when we ourselves are experiencing such personal trauma. Gratefully, we have each other, and the many tools that we offer to others, we are able to use ourselves.